Betsy, thank you for coming to the Holly Hughes podcast. I am exceedingly excited to have you. First of all, because you're a friend. Second of all, because I know how talented you are. And third of all, when we do get together, I don't always get to ask you everything I've always wanted to ask you. And so I'm going to go there today. And you don't get worried because I know you know my personality, but
I'm excited to be here, Holly. Thank you.
yeah,
Ask away.
because I want to talk. So my podcast is about leading and living a creative life and what that means and I'm going to get emotional because I know you, but like what I honestly admire about you. No, seriously, I'm getting
Aw.
emotional. Well, you're an outstanding human, right? You're a single mom, which is like everything that you've accomplished in raising two amazing grown people right now. Like I'm in the midst of getting ready for college and you've done this twice and no, I
Yeah.
can't. But you go from this very sound editorial mindset. You are an amazing editor. You take sentences. Everyone should know I've hired Betsy, so I worked with her. But you take my wildly emotional at times work, my raw material that I've tried to fix and know where I get stuck, and you pull it out and shape it into what I meant, right? And we're
Oh,
very different people, but
right.
you have that ability. And then from, I will call that a pragmatic, even though
Mm-hmm.
it's not, it's creative too, but a more of a pragmatic
Sure.
mind. Then you time travel literally in your own creative writing and you
Mm-hmm.
become Hope Carroll. You become a whole other woman in a whole other romance. Like I'm getting goosebumps
Oh,
again, literally, like they're right
thank
here.
you.
And so you have this duality
Mm. Yeah.
and creativity. And so how do you do that? Like, how do you define or explain your journey? Because you've also worked with the big publishers, big
Mm-hmm.
traditional publishing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I would approach that I've always had kind of creativity from a business point of view. And so for me, it's never about, let's do some free writing or let's do some journaling. I love all that, but I kind of always want to have an end goal, both in my creative writing and as an editor. So I always want to bring people to publication, no matter where they are. And so that started, in my early days as an editorial assistant. I just saw the realities of the business and what we were looking for and what we weren't looking for and what we could make work and what we couldn't. And then growing to become, a full editor and then an indie editor has been fabulous because I get to work with people sometimes from start to finished book and beyond in a way that I didn't get to as an in-house editor. So that's really been cool for me. But the duality is, yes, it's a duality because I came at writing novels as, a novice. And even though I'm an English major, I'm an experienced editor, we're all grasping, trying to find the right words, trying to figure out how to do descriptions and dialogue and romance and, just all the things that we need to pull into a book and make it work. And so that's been very useful for me as an editor as well to see, what people struggle with. So it kind of enhanced my editing business, I think, even more. And I have a lot more advice as well, being on that side of the table.
Yeah. I want to know, did you always want to be a writer? Was that like, I'm
Definitely.
really?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I think from the time I read the Chronicles of Narnia, I just wanted to recreate that sort of experience, which is probably how I got into time travel. But I like those mysterious doors, in closets and where might they lead, and to new adventures that are much more exciting than the life that I was leading, in boring suburban Connecticut. And um, so, yeah, I just have always thought, writing is exciting. At first, I thought I was going to be a travel writer. And that, yeah. And then I quickly found out in my first job at Condé Nast that all those writers are freelance.
Oh my God.
And
A traveler, I have the funniest story about
yeah.
this. So, right, I worked in film and TV, and I remembered that I wanted to own my own creativity. So I started taking writing classes at UCLA Extensions because I always wanted to write, but I didn't know the business of writing. I didn't know how to start. And I didn't know how to write anymore because I'd spent years on sets, right,
Hmm.
doing budgets and negotiations. So I one of the first classes I took was a travel writer, and that teacher, he hated me.
Oh no.
He did not like my personality. He did not like my writing, and he wasn't editorial. He didn't teach me to be better. He would just try to publicly embarrass me.
What?
Yeah, because I did a trip to Hawaii and I didn't enjoy it. And I remember trying to think, well, how do I write about going to Hawaii and not enjoying it at all? Right? Everyone's dream vacation is
Yeah.
Hawaii.
That's such a good story, though.
Right. And he got so rude that one of the men in the class to this day is now a friend. His name is Adam. Adam was like, dude, you're so rude. Like, what are you doing? And then the teacher's response was, are you two dating?
Oh, jeez.
And then everyone in the room, it was like only 20 of us, it was small, was like, ew. So it was like I was like, well, I guess maybe God's just telling me, don't travel right.
I
I
don't
gotta
know,
go
or you
away.
just had the wrong teacher, because that's part of the experience of going back and forth. And some indie editors, I imagine, are like that, and they'll just shut you down. And I've always been of the encouraging, like, what are you doing well? What do you need help with? How can I help you? But those sort of teachers should not be teaching. I just,
It was an experience for
that's
sure.
bad. That's sad. I'm sorry that
No,
happened to
it's
you.
fine. But that's part of your gift, though. You do find the magic, the good stuff.
Mm, yeah.
And don't you think that's a talent? Like, is that innate in you because you're kind, or is it because you also understand the business and you're like, well, if we expand on this, then we can sell it and publish it? Which part of your brain is engaging then?
Probably, yeah, multiple sides, because I do see the kind of hurt child within every author, that's trying to express themselves and trying to solve a problem, be it fictional or nonfiction. So they're trying to either help readers or entertain readers or, teach readers something. So, but we're all kind of slightly damaged in a way, and we're all so vulnerable that I know how hard it is to bring your work to somebody and say, please, please help me with it. And a lot of people approach me with almost an embarrassment, like, I'm not an experienced author. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm just like, consider me like a doctor. Like, I see all these problems all the time. So don't think, I don't have my judgy lens on you per se. I just need to know how to make this book feel better.
That is really how you feel working with you. Because I want people to understand that when it comes to having and finding an editor that works, first of all, there are really good ones and there are ones that are less good that might be really particular about grammar in a weird way as
Right.
opposed to fleshing out story or plot. Like, you can come to editorial on many parts of your journey, right? Like where you are. I think you said this to me, which I always take as a compliment. You were like, you know what your shortcoming is,
Mm,
right? Like I do. I'm like, I know I have a blind spot here. I
mm-hmm.
don't know how to fix it because I think
Right.
it's on the page,
Right.
but everyone is telling me no, it is not on the page. So
Right.
you
Right.
need to fix that. But there is a supportive editor while still, holding you to task, right? Because writing is rewriting.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I think you can absolutely do both, because if you're not offering solutions along with the empathy about what a hard journey this is, and, you know, all of that sort of stuff, then what are you bringing to the table? So you have to bring solutions. And I once got a little present after a book came out, from these authors who are at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And it was this big book on children's health, and I can't remember. I'm not at home, so I don't have it in front of me. But she sent me a little frame that was had puzzle pieces kind of on the outside of the frame, and it said, "Betsy, thanks for making all the puzzle pieces fit together." And that's just stuck with me. I was like, oh yeah, it kind of does feel that way. Like you've got a 500 piece, 1,000 piece, or in the case of long manuscripts, 80,000, 100,000 piece puzzle that you need to figure out is this put together the right way? And what are some pieces that are missing oftentimes? How can we get those pieces in here, and how can we arrange them in a way that's entertaining and people will keep reading? So I do really think about this process as kind of always different puzzles that need to be solved.
Yeah, and you help people with book proposals too, because you and I also did some of
Mm-hmm.
that for nonfiction. So if
Mm-hmm.
anyone out there listening does nonfiction, that is a whole other kind of writing.
Yes, and there has to be, I came in, and here's a story that people may not realize happens, but a lot of in-house editors no longer have the time to solve problems that are happening in books. So you sell a nonfiction book based on a proposal, which is an overview, an outline, and 2 sample chapters, and then you get a contract based on that. And then the book might come in and, oh no, it's not what I hoped it would be. So I've had a couple in-house editors reach out to me and say, I don't have time in my schedule to fix this, and I might have to cancel this contract if this author can't fix this book. So let me connect you with his agent, and let me, um, he'll have to hire you to fix his book. And so that happens sometimes in Big Five publishing, that the book is not, ready for prime time, and your editor can't fix it because they just don't have the bandwidth.
Do you think that had to do with expectation? Or did they write a book? Like, sometimes a proposal isn't the book that you write because you have different thoughts. So is it a reasonable expectation? Was the writing not up to snuff? Was it
The
like, or both?
In this particular case, so something I like to emphasize in nonfiction is, even though it's prescriptive, you have to continually tell stories. So he didn't have enough illustrative stories throughout to
Hmm.
keep the reader engaged. It was all just advice. And we couldn't see how that advice was playing out with his clients. So that really wasn't working for his editor. And, it's just boring without stories. So we had to put some in. I'm like,
That's
okay,
about as mean as you get. Well, that was kind of
this is kind of
boring.
boring. Well, yeah. So that was an interesting project to take on. Kind of, it had been well thought out. He had all the credentials in the world. He worked with people all the time, just like you as an expert. He had all of that going for him, but what he didn't realize was that he wasn't filling it up with illustrative stories.
That's really fascinating. I probably usually have too many stories and
Well,
have
it's
to
better to
connect
have too many
writers.
stories than too few, because then I could say, well, this is not your strongest one, so let's pull this one. So that's totally fine. I'd rather see that than have none and just be, do this, do that, do this, do that.
Yeah, I think I know my messiest chapter I ever sent you nonfiction wise. You were like, yeah, that was a little long. And I was like, oh, my trauma is all on the page. My trauma is all on the page. But you were
Well,
so good. You're like, okay, maybe if you reorganize it that way. See, again, that is really the magic of a really good editor. Like I know I can put something through Grammarly 1,000 times or try to fix my grammar, but I am a typo queen. Like if you know me, you're going to have a typo. I can look at it a bajillion ways. And
oh, everybody does. Yeah.
do you have that relationship? Because I've actually just discovered that I'm dyslexic. At this age, I
Oh,
have
wow.
discovered I'm dyslexic
Oh, my
because
gosh. Oh,
I
yeah.
was right. No, this is really funny. I was at a wedding with my daughter and I was trying to learn Korean, right? Because we all know I'm obsessed.
Right.
And I was running into some issues besides having difficulty getting the words from my brain out of my mouth,
Hmm.
learning that I'm a throat talker and Korean is very much in the front of your mouth. So that was different for me.
Oh,
But I was having a hard time seeing letters like they just started blending. And I
the Korean
realized,
letters.
I was
Okay.
realizing that I was seeing things in shapes.
Oh,
And then my daughter and I are sitting out to dinner before, like the day before the wedding, and I was explaining some of my issues. She's like looking at me like I'm an idiot because a teenager does.
right.
And she was like, do you know you're dyslexic? I was like, what are you talking about? People who are dyslexic can't read. I read constantly and all the
Right.
time, right? And she's like, okay, no. And she went through because she took her psychology class, right? And so she knew all the tests. And I did the tests, and like 4 out of 5 things I was
Oh
like
my gosh.
pegged at. I was pegged at.
Wow.
I was like, this is kind of why I see the world. I do color a lot. I'll
Hmm.
associate some. I have to do an association to get
Hmm.
it right. She's like, did you ever write letters backwards? I was like, yeah. I didn't see it when I wrote it, but I saw it when I read it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
so I would
Definitely.
like put P's and B's I'd mess up
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
like things like that. And I was like, oh my God, I am. And then my Korean teacher's like, no, Holly, Korean's just hard.
Well,
But
of course. Yeah,
but
that's
but I think that sometimes it is when I think something is in an order, again, editing can come in and be like outside perspective.
well, and that's important because I have editors as well for my own books, right? So I can't see it in my own writing. I just, I'm throwing a bunch of things down on the page and hoping that it makes sense. And especially I'm writing this book on the emotional journey of being a writer. And I'm just dumping stories left, right, and center into all of the different chapters. I don't know if they make sense where they are. I don't know if I've already said them before. I'm repeating myself because I'm doing this at night and on weekends. So I'm not, fully doing this full time. So I look at editors as kind of like almost lifeguards or something
That's
like
a nice way to put
that.
it. I like
So
that.
we're pulling you out of the surf. Um, because I'm just so grateful for the people who are helping me catch all of these mistakes that I'm just putting down willy-nilly, and giving me some focus and structure about things that I need to work on myself. So and this was true for the time travel trilogy as well, that I just needed that focus of another person who just sits down and their only job is to focus on your work. And so beta readers are great, friends are great, all of that. But when you assign somebody to work on your book, you really want that and need that focus of kind of, a certain number of hours to get the work done, because otherwise it might be half-assed. And your producer told me I could swear, so I'm
We
swearing.
can, because this
Yay.
is for adults only. Well, anyone can hear it, but we
Yeah.
don't have to censor ourselves. We're grown beings. So there's like so many things we can go to in that. First of all, I want to hear about your next book, but
Hmm.
I want to talk about like what it was to choose a life of being a creative
Mm.
person and choosing the traditional route at first,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Like was it a conscious choice? Was it like you got lucky out of school? I know you got published very young,
Right.
right? You were like in a big magazine at 21. If like I couldn't even imagine how amazing that felt.
Yeah, it was a series of fortunate events in my case. So yeah, I got published in the New York Times in an op-ed article when I came back from my junior year abroad, which was a highly exciting time creative creatively for me, and friends wise and travel wise, and there was just so much going on. And when I came back, there was kind of this almost disappointment that I was going back to the real world, and that adventure was over, and everybody was telling me the best year of your life is over. Because, yeah, because,
Oh my God. Who are these
yeah,
people?
Debbie Downers,
Seriously.
but
At
kind of,
21, your life is
yeah,
ruined
your
now.
life is over. It's all downhill from here, sweetie pie. So, yeah, it's so I happened to meet I was lucky enough that a friend of my dad's colleague was an editor at the New York Times, and he said, I just had an informational interview with him about, gee, you're going to be graduating soon. What should you do? And he's like, and I was like, well, I want to be a writer. And he's like, well, what have you written? Um, Zero.
Oh, that.
Have you contributed to the school newspaper? No. Did you write for the literary magazine? No. Have you written anything? Well, nothing really except diaries and letters to my parents and friends, because back then we wrote letters. So he was like, well, tell you what, we're doing this series called Voices of a New Generation. And why don't you just try your hand at doing something, just writing 300, 500 words on whatever you want to write about. Send it to me. And he was probably thinking, there's no way, there's no way that I'm going to publish it. And so I went home and I had an assignment, which is so important. I feel like people need assignments sometime. And I went home and I wrote it, and I remember getting that call, and they were like, yeah, we're going to publish it. And um, it was just incredible. So that led to me getting my first job at Condé Nast magazines, and I was interning there. Not interning, I guess it was out of college, but it was kind
So
of
you
their.
were in New York, though, physically in New York.
I was physically. I grew up outside of New York City, so I could commute into Manhattan, which is a very lucky thing, as I'm finding now with my new graduate who wants possibly to be in book publishing. But a lot of people don't end up getting into book publishing because it's too expensive to move. The pay is not good. You have to immediately find 4 roommates to, to team up with on like Greater Staten Island or something like that, in order to, have the privilege to work in the creative field. So I was lucky I had that advantage, and did have roommates, out of college who I could room and board with. But it was always, my father's a banker. He's very pragmatic. So therefore, always looking for a corporate job, never, benefits, all of that sort of stuff. So I was always kind of that mind that at first it has to be the corporate world. And
That's
so,
so fascinating to
yeah,
me
yeah.
because, wait, my mom's an artist and my dad's an engineer, a chemical engineer. I knew I wanted to write very young. I wrote stories with my friends in it. I would write stories with the boys they had crushes with, and I would make a little romance.
Oh, I love
I
that.
know, it was so fun. And I wrote for my local newspaper.
See, you
I,
were doing the things that I was
and
supposed
I
to be
had
doing.
zero belief that I could do anything.
Mm,
Zero. Like
mm.
my self-esteem, my belief in any ability was a zero minus zero. It was like so nothing. So I find that fascinating, like, how far I've come, but that you were like, no, pragmatic. I didn't have anything, so I'll just start.
I'll just
I
start and do
I
it.
love
Yeah.
that.
I kind of believed in, I thought I was a good writer. So I did have that belief in myself, and shout out to Mrs. Lang in 10th grade English, who told me I was a good writer. Those early, like anybody who can tell a kid that they're a good writer. And I'm sad that, did you not have that
No.
validation?
I don't also think, like, I don't know that I would have been able to process it or hear it, especially, right?
Mm,
Like, I moved as a junior, then my house burned down.
yeah.
So I wasn't the most stable, as my last few years in high school.
You had a lot of trauma to deal with, that you
Just
weren't
a
hearing
couple
the
of,
good messages. Yeah.
probably not,
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. So they were probably there, like, Holly, you're really talented, but
I don't think I ever heard that.
mm,
Right?
I don't know. I
I
mean,
don't
you've
know.
heard that as
I've
an
always heard I'm
adult.
brave. I've heard I'm brave, but really talented? No. No. Brave.
Huh,
That,
interesting. Well,
no.
Brave
we'll have to examine that in an
Brave
essay,
definitely is
obviously.
part of the whole writing process, right? Because people judge you and they're
Mm.
like, is this the best use of your time? You know,
Yes.
you could be doing stuff that could be earning real money. So is this really how you should be spending your
Right,
time?
let's talk about time. All right, you
Yeah.
open the door. So, okay, so you are a full-time editor. I'm like,
Hmm.
you are busy. If people want to
Hmm.
work with you, get in line. Right?
Yeah.
Honestly, call now, get in line. Which I love for you because it should be like that. You're good at what you do.
Thank
But
you.
so then you have X amount of hours. Do you
Hmm.
limit the time? Because I know when I get in a creative zone, um, I don't really notice time. I'll forget to eat. I'll realize I'm cold. I'm like, oh, I have to pee. Like, all those things because you're in the zone. I also don't believe in balance. I don't think you could cut something off and then do this for X amount of hours. I think it's rhythm in regular work and in creativity. How do you find that?
Yeah, it probably is based on a level of exhaustion, um, in that I only have so many hours in a day. So you're right, 9 to 5 is for editing. Then I cook dinner. Then I watch like a little bit of TV because I can't read after reading all day. And then I'll troop up to my bed and it'll be 9 p.m., something like that. And then I'll start writing and when I was writing my trilogy, 2 books of which I had to write in 7 months each, under the contract. I know it's crazy. Um, so that was a lesson in and of itself, but I had to write a certain number of words
Ooh.
per night in order to have an output, which actually ended up being fabulous
Mm.
because it made me not look back. It made me not re-examine. It made me not second guess myself. I just had to finish that journey that those characters were on and then re-examine everything in the first edit and then do it again in the second edit. So I carved out, so I had 7 months to write 60,000 words and then eventually they got up to 70 or something like that. But
That's the size of a book I like, by the way. It's not very popular. I like a 70 to 75,000
that's a
word.
sweet spot. It's hard for authors to write books that aren't too long. So
I'm a
many,
short writer, so I'm like, give me that word count because then you can devour it and feel
yes.
good.
Yes, and
And
you can read it kind of quickly in 2 days. Yeah. Too many clients come to me. I've had clients come to me with books that are 200,000 words, which
I had a
is,
critique partner ask me to read 185,000
oh
words. It was
no.
when I first met them, I like a long time ago, and I did. I read all of it and gave notes on
Oh.
all of it.
Yeah, see, 85 of those thousand words needed to be cut. So, I mean, sometimes I'll have projects like that where I'm like, I'm not even going to edit. I just need to tell you what to cut, and and sometimes it's surgical because the plot is so intricate that I can't
Mm.
just take out entire chapters. So that's a problem. But
So, do
yeah.
you do longhand or do you?
Oh my gosh, no, definitely. My longhand is terrible now. It's like a doctor's script. It's so bad. I so rarely do it. So when I address cards now, I'm like, what am I, what is this writing thing? It's so
Do
bad.
you Scrivener? Do you use a like a any sort of program while you're writing a book?
Oh, I couldn't figure out Scrivener. It was gonna
It was so
again,
complicated.
again, time is important for me because I have so little of it to devote to my own projects that to spend the 5 hours that I would have needed to figure out Scrivener, as excellent as a tool as it seems to be, I just I couldn't do it. No, I work in Word. I'm old school, and that's how I prefer to edit my clients. Sometimes I'll edit in Google, and sometimes I'll edit in Pages. But yeah, I just prefer Time New Roman's 12-point font, just the way I was taught to edit. It must be double spaced. It's got to be. And then I'll do tools every night. How many words have I written? 500? Okay, maybe it's 1,000. Fantastic. But For me, I had to go to sleep or else I wouldn't be able to function and edit the next day. But there are times when you can just get completely caught up and you're so excited by what the characters are going through or what you're trying to say or whatever that, yeah, you can get really caught up in it and it can
Do you
be an
have a
issue.
quirk like that you do while you're writing?
A
I'll give you an
quirk?
example because you're like, I'm not,
Yeah.
like when I'm really in a scene, everyone in the house knows it because I guess I type loud and I start to mumble like, like, I'm like really in the, I'm like
Oh,
this.
that's funny. You know what I have a problem is, are action beats. So action beats are the end of a dialogue, two people are conversing, and the action beat is how are they looking at each other? How are they responding to what the other one said? Do they put their hand on their chin? Do they scratch their, and I'm like, oh my God. So I have physically gone up to the mirror to see what does that even look like? Like, I'll make faces at myself because I can't figure out how I can capture that on TV. And so, yeah, we had that conversation today with, I had it with Emily, who I'm staying with for the week, and she's in my writers group. And she was saying, there's this great scene in New Girl when Jess and Nick get together and start kissing for the first time. And it's such a sexy, combustible scene, but how do you describe that on the page? Because I actually have this assignment to book doctor this guy's love scenes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, where am I going to go to for inspiration? Because I'm kind of a doors closed after a certain amount of action happens. I don't want all the details, but he wants all the details. So that'll be interesting for me.
I was okay. There is an author, and I can't remember who it is, who does spicy
Mm-hmm.
books, and she uses dolls. She uses Barbies
To
to,
manipulate and get on
yes, to
top.
get to, figure out
The
position.
mechanics.
But we all know I watch Asian television. If
Right.
you want to see something spicy,
Okay.
you got to go to boy love Thai shows
Boy love Thai shows.
because most of them don't show obviously everything. They're
Mm-hmm.
very much women gaze romance, but with men kind of thing.
Okay.
That would be, and it might be something outside the box that you've seen, so it might help inspire. But a lot of it is I'm not gonna lie, they allude to plenty. I'm not gonna,
Right, right, right.
it's definitely not rated G, but there are some times where their faces just don't touch, and you have all of that tension.
Yes, I love that. I love that. It's so hard to capture. And that's why some of these books that are, they hit the ground running with the characters like immediately hooking up. And I'm just like, no, I want that slow burn. I want those looks between the characters because that's where the drama and the importance comes from.
You might have to wait 8 to 16 episodes in a K drama for them to kiss.
Right.
I mean, there's plenty
Right.
of spicier older ones, but nowadays they're kind of very like innocent in a way. And you go back to an American show, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, I mean the scene that everybody pulls up on their Instagram reels or TikTok is Mr. Darcy coming out of the
Don't
mist,
even wait. But you
right?
and I have different Darcys, though.
Well, no, I
I
love both
okay,
Darcys.
okay.
I love both Darcys, but that Matthew McFadden coming out of the mists of the
Still, look,
whatever.
I'm all fidgety.
Yeah,
Like, I'm all fidgety. I
I
can't.
mean, it's just the passion and his like, I can't wait a second longer. I have to tell this girl my true feelings. And, but without that build up over the course of an hour and a half in in the
Yeah,
movie version and the 6 hours in the BBC version, it just wouldn't work.
Matthew, when he walked, it's the cadence of his walk,
Yes. Oh, the long
right?
coat is everything. No, the long coat for me.
I'm starting to sweat. Like,
Put a man in a long coat, and I'm telling you, he's 20% more attractive.
Throw that accent. But
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, even we've obviously both also read the books, right? So
right.
even in the book, there is that thing. But when you see the personification of that, and I think also like the other moments I always think of him is when he stretches his hand after
Right.
he helps her in the
Right.
yes, that
Yes.
no, I can't. I
I
can't.
know. I
I'm
know.
literally sweating now. Like,
I'm glad.
maybe it's a
It's a
hot.
fun conversation to think
It's
about.
well,
How do you capture those moments on the page? And that's what as artists we're trying to do.
so do you build while you write story? For me, when I write fiction, I tend to start my stories always start with an emotional moment,
Mm.
but I have to work on plot the most. I'm honestly the weakest in plot. So I will tend to try to write the plot and with no emotion because I know how easy it will be for me to add that much later. Do you have a process that you do while you're writing your romance stuff?
I mean, honestly, I'm all plot. So I immediately start with a plot. Every single one of my books starts the same way, a trip back in time, and then they have a problem to solve, and then they have to get back to the modern time. So it's got a very easy setup from they have to hit these certain marks, and then they have famous people to meet, or scenes that
Yeah.
they need to witness to kind of figure out what had gone on in history. So my first one is the Order of the Garter, and she witnessed kind of the origins of that order of knighthood back in 1344. And then the second one was, I needed her to meet Leonardo da Vinci. And so I traced back, how could she have found him? Well, he was in France for the last 3 years of his life. So that gave me a time period to work with. And what if there was a lost painting? Because I think only 8 of his paintings survived or something like that. And yet he was extremely prolific, with his manuscripts. So I thought, what if they discovered that there was a painting lost to time that they had gotten a record of? And then the third one was, is Shakespeare a woman? Um, which I loved the setup of. So all of them have kind of these action pieces that need to happen, and meanings and personalities. And I kind of just envision, I will go to IMDb and look for
Mm.
faces. I will find actors who look like I think my characters might look
Oh,
like. And now AI can do that, but AI is just not a
I have
fan.
so many issues, right?
There's so many issues, and they just, so it's not great. But I like looking for real faces, and then I'll kind of pin them up in front of me to just keep looking at their faces and trying to discern, how would they react to certain things? What's the personality behind this face?
I love that. I think I didn't find photos of like my YA, which is still something I want. See, my hardest problem is, oh, this is good. Wait, I know. Okay, so we all know I wrote a YA, Dear Dead Drunk Girl. I got an agent with that book.
Yes.
We went on sub. I had to do 7 R&Rs
God,
before I got my
7.
agent. 7.
Oh my
I had
gosh.
one agent flat out tell me, I love it. I love your voice. I love your writing. I like what you have next. I don't know how to sell anything you do.
Yeah.
That was just like,
Yeah.
so I write magical realism. That's my
Right.
fiction is magical realism. So, and young adult fiction. So I ended up going with this one person. We were out on sub. I didn't understand who she subbed to. I would often recommend, I think this person's a better fit, but then I would be like a step too late because they would have found something too similar or similar ish.
Uh,
And then when we parted ways, because we parted ways like at the end of COVID or the year after COVID, and I got my work back and I read it, and it wasn't the story I ever wanted to sell. So
mm,
my character had become so, we'll just say edgy, right? I was like, that is not how it started. But they made me take an emotional book and change it to a plot book.
okay.
And
Yeah.
so over the past 2 years, I've rewritten it to be a plot book. I mean, an emotional book. But I
Okay.
was like, but something's missing. I don't write the way I wrote 10 years ago. So polishing something in a way that I wouldn't write and I don't want to rewrite it, but there's still something there in her,
Yeah,
right? That really
that's a great
speaks to me.
story. Yeah, it's a really great story.
So
Um,
maybe that'll come across you, but that's one of my things. I'm like, I want to fix it. When do you leave a book and let it go? And when is traditional publishing just not the option you need anymore because there are so many others?
yes, and it's, there are um, very successful indie published books out there, especially for the YA market, the romantasy market,
Hmm.
all of that sort of thing. And the numbers, you know, the odds are not in any writer's favor, right? To get a traditional book publishing deal. It's just I liken it, and I'm sure you're tired of this analogy that I give to everyone, but
Not
it's like a stadium full of people auditioning for American Idol, and you get down to your top 10. And so that's your competition that you're up against. So you're right, there's endless polishing, there's you know, rewrite and resubmit to a ton of people. I rewrote the beginning of my first novel in the trilogy for my agent 3 different times. The first time for her, the second time based on feedback from editors, and the third time again based on feedback to more editors. And it didn't sell, but I love how it turned out, and it was a learning process for me. So I think what's important to see is if you look back on those earlier drafts, even though maybe it had changed too much in the plot direction and gotten away from the emotions, and your character had changed too much, that your writing probably improved during that time. Like, you learned a lot of new skills. So maybe it's just putting those two things together, of the writing with capturing what you were trying to do in the first place.
Yeah, I guess
Um,
I'll just have to send it to you. I'll just finish this version and I'll just send it to you
I would love
because
that.
I am in my own way because I'm like, I wouldn't describe it like this, but I don't want to rewrite the whole thing. Or it's called Dear Dead Drunk Girl. And the actual letters in the book sometimes slow the plot, but they're darlings I'm having
Oh,
such difficulty
oh,
killing.
oh, right. Yeah, that's hard. And I, even though I'm a nice person, I do kill darlings. I do
You
kill a lot
too.
of darlings and some characters and things like that. And um, again, it's down to pragmatism. I want the book to be the best that it can be. And if people get hung up on this scene, I'm always cognizant of the fact that our readers are very distracted, that
Hmm.
they are going to want any excuse to pick up their phone and see whether anybody's texted, if there's a new fun Instagram reel or TikTok or whatever, or, the president's done something crazy. And, all this stuff. And they could be like, oh, well, this scene isn't kind of
Hmm.
compelling to me, so I'm going to put it down. So I want to boost the averages for, there's statistics out from Kindle about when people stop reading.
Ooh.
Yeah, so you can look them up, but they're very interesting. So I would say that most books do not get finished, which is a very depressing statistic for people who labor over every word and just, love
I
them
love
so
my
much.
ending. I love my
Right, right.
ending.
You want them to get to that happy ending, or whatever ending it is, to have that, moment of drama, or you know,
Completion. Yeah. This,
completion, romance,
yeah.
whatever it is, and just get all the feelings. And so if your reader's abandoning you because you have something in there that's like, they suddenly are bored, or they lose track, or they're not invested in it, then that's why we have to be pragmatic and cut those elements. So
Yeah. I'm going to
yeah.
have to cut. Like, do you
Sorry.
see my face? I mean, if
I
you're just
know.
listening, you can't see my face. I'm just like rolling my eyes. I was like, this is why I work with her because she says it so nicely. How do you take criticism as a writer and an editor? Like when you get feedback on your work, how do you
Well,
process
it's
it?
interesting as an editor too, because when I send out my editorial letter, it's almost like it is a creative process. So I'm like, are they going to like me? Are they going to, you know? and especially because they're paying money for it, like, are they going to be happy with what they did? And are they, so, you know, 99% of the time they're happy and satisfied and, ecstatic because they have a solution. They have a way, a path
Mm.
forward. For me, it's the same thing. Sometimes I don't agree with all of my edits, and sometimes, my editor can get a little carried away sometimes with some of the points that she's trying to make, but she fills in but she also suggests some amazing things. So it's difficult as a writer to process the feedback that you're getting, because if you're getting it from an independent editor, you don't have to do everything that that editor says, right? Because it's your book, you're paying the money, you're printing it yourself. But when you have a contract with a big five publisher or a regional publisher, it's the editor's decision as to whether or not you've fulfilled the
Mm.
complete and satisfactory element of your contract. And if you haven't, they can cancel your contract and you have to refund the advance money. So that's kind of a big stick that editors are holding. And I haven't had to use that very often when I was in that role, but I you know and authors can, again, pragmatism, authors can say, oh, this was divinely inspired and whatever else, and I'm just like, well, that's great, but it's not working. Like, listen to me, I work on a lot of books, I edit, thousands and thousands of words a year, hundreds of I'm like, oh, I don't
You do,
even want
you're
to, I
busy.
don't I don't count.
Do you
Yeah.
think people can earn a living just as a book author, like realistically? Like, I don't know that I know a single author who only has one job.
Very, very few. And I always say never quit your day job. So very few. I definitely encourage a balance. And
Rhythm.
yeah, I want all people to embrace their creative spirit, and, and we all have to pay the bills. So luckily for me, I'm doing what I love with my job, but is it necessarily expressing, creativity in that different part of my brain that I think sometimes is coming from a magical place? Um, no, it's not happening, but it's happening from, multiple areas of my brain. So it's very
Mm.
satisfying in that respect. But no, I don't know really any full-time authors. If they're doing it, they're also doing it because they've got speaking engagements.
Yeah.
So the books help sell the speaking engagements and vice versa. So you sell books at the back of the room, you're speaking to 200 people, you're making $20 a book or whatever, and that is really a good driver for
Or
income.
$2 a book.
Well, $2 a book if the publisher is printing it, but if you're printing it yourself, then hopefully you're getting a good return.
I don't think so. I think, like, from my experience is if it's like a $14 book, half the print, they get
Right.
half for printing, or they get half for distributing it, and then they get the
40%,
next
yeah.
half for printing, or $4 for printing. Then whatever's left over is what you get.
Yeah, I try to, I guess for my indie books, I kind of price them for my clients to get paid around almost $5 a book.
Oh,
So
that's
you
good.
just have to look at the competition and what other people are selling their books for, because the cost of paper is going way up.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Again, in a pragmatic sense, that's why we don't want the 185,000 word manuscript, because it's this big, it's the size of a Bible or a textbook, and it's intimidating. And if you're a new author and somebody's going to have to invest $40 on a yellow pages type length, then people might not be on board. But if it's $70,000, $70,000 words and $18 for a book, and it's got some good blurbs or whatever, or it's got a really good premise, or they heard about it somewhere, somebody recommended it, that's a lot easier to sell. So I definitely encourage people to not go overboard, especially for their first book. You'll notice that successful authors, all of their books were definitely under 100,000 words. And then as they got more and more successful, they go crazy.
I have a question.
Hmm.
Do you have any experience in discerning if introverts or extroverts are better writers?
Oh boy. Well, extroverts are usually good storytellers, right? So theoretically, I
Oh.
find that extroverts like tend to narrate their entire lives, and that may.
I consider myself an introvert. So like I find that I'm an expressive introvert because like after you and I talk today, I won't probably
You're
say
wiped
more
out.
than
Yeah.
20 more. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like done. And
Yeah.
I love being around creative community and it jazzes me and it gets me excited, but that's because I'm alone a lot.
Right. Yeah, me too. I work at home on books all day, and I'm alone a lot, but I consider myself an ambivert,
Mm.
so like I can switch on to being an extrovert when I need to be, and then I can switch off, but I definitely need downtime afterwards to like do my routine and be boring. But if I were going from night out, night out, night out, 5 nights a week, I would be dead. But that's a good question about who's the better writer. I would say obviously I work with a ton more introverts than I do extroverts. So the extroverts probably that I'm working with are working more on nonfiction.
Oh,
I don't think they have an internal creative life like we might. I don't know. That's a theory.
I
I love my
I
extroverted friends. I don't mean to.
we're not putting anyone down. I was just
No,
like thinking about that because sometimes I wonder if they're completely extroverted, if all the energy is going out, how do you direct it down?
it's exactly right. I think that's exactly right. I don't think that, yeah, because they're looking for external validation, perhaps. And I'm trying to go into a world that I've invented and meet up with characters. There's that whole book boyfriend thing going on right now. And I'm like, I have made the best book boyfriends. Like, I love my book boyfriends. They're far better than any, I'm sure to the exception of your husband, but
Whatever.
whatever.
It's
Take him or
fiction.
leave him.
Fiction is
Fiction
doing.
boyfriends are fantastic, just like, Mr. Darcy.
I found this thing on Book Talk. I really try to stay out of any intense conversations. I'm just more of a lurker.
Yeah.
But I've found this whole world of narrators,
Hmm.
like Book Talk narrators. There's like all these women are they're feral. They're feral over it. And once it gets on your page, I'm just like, what is this? What? Like that takes the imagination to just like some other next level. And I'm
Feral in
slightly
what way, though?
I'll just privately send you a link and you
Okay.
watch it.
I
It's
want to see
it's
what
in a
you're
way
doing.
that like I was like, you're taking your fantasy into the real world. And I mean, I guess more power
Okay.
to you, but
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I could go. I mean, it's enough that I've written this trilogy, but again, it's a very exposing thing. I think the people on TikTok are exposing themselves in a creative way that writers are doing, but just in very short snippets. And you know what drives me
hmm,
crazy on TikTok?
but
I'm just going to say it. Those people that do, here's me getting for work, ready for work, and it's like 30 different shots of them. I'm like, this must have taken you 3 hours to film from every single different angle. You're not getting ready for work. You're not going anywhere. Like, what is this day? This was done on a Saturday or a Sunday. I don't know how
hmm.
many cameras you have set up around here. It could be one. And then you're going from blah to blah, and it drives me insane. It's
That's
so
just, it's
artificial
like
to me.
jumping tents. I think actually I'm interviewing a couple content creators and that's part of what I want to talk to them
Mm,
about. Is like
yeah.
how do you see the world like that and then show it like that? Because it's not how I see story.
Yeah, yeah, and I appreciate it aesthetically, but as a human, I'm like, what are you doing to yourself? Like, this is seems like a horrible existence that you're putting yourself through.
Well, it's definitely predicated and validated. Like if you don't get the clicks and likes, right? There's a content creator. I can't think of his name. He's younger. Like for me, he's 20 something, maybe early 30s. Like for me, quite young, and he's gone through all of these iterations of his personality, trying to find who he is and discovering who you are and knowing who you are, right?
Mm,
That's like a lot of what I was doing as a healer, and watching them navigate the waves and criticism and attention of social media on top of it
yeah,
is like something I could never handle. Like when I did my essay about getting harassed on set and going viral, when there was only TikTok,
yeah.
and waking up to 5,000 messages literally from people I didn't know telling me there was mistakes in my essay.
God.
Because I was waiting for my editorial letter. The contract was, they bought it, edit, and then
Oh,
publish,
right.
but they published without the edit. So I'm
Oh,
like, and I didn't change the name. So the first names were the first
oh
names.
no. Oh, I remember that. That really blew up.
It did. But if that happened nowadays, I wouldn't been able to handle it. That's
It's a
just,
lot. It's a lot. They're really exposing themselves to a lot. And one of the heartbreaking things I see on TikTok is, and some people I know are doing this, are like, you know, nodding enthusiastically and holding up a
mm,
book if they liked it, or like shaking their head
mm-hmm.
if they didn't like it. And it's like, oh, if I were the author who worked on their book and they were just shaking their head. And I think that's efficient and whatever if you're going to show 10 books that have just come out. But I'd rather get a star rating. I'd rather have a review. I'd rather have like something to grasp onto other than a person shaking their head, like why the
Yeah,
book didn't work for them.
that just hurts. We're not going to talk about the big bad wolf, which is what Amazon is for me. They're the big bad wolf.
Yeah,
Because they're a necessary evil. We've
right.
made them that in our world.
Yeah.
I Last week they took my book down,
What?
saying that I violated things and that I wasn't who I said I was, which they had done like 3 years ago before about something else.
That's
So
insane.
because I'm meticulous in my bookkeeping, I was like, actually, you've done this to me before, and
Mm.
here's your letter, and this is how you resolved it,
Oh,
and this is
thank
the date you
goodness.
resolved it. Please resolve it again.
Oh,
And within a day, they did. But like, you have to go through that. Oh my God, all my work. And they take down all my work. So my work that appears in other publications comes down.
holy Moses.
I
Oh, that's
know.
awful. No, I
So
know the indie editor author is up against a lot of really ridiculousness
it's bots. They're bots.
and bots, and you're up against third party sellers who swoop in and suddenly they've got your book and they're selling it for $30, but it only retail costs $16, but they can't get the prime version of your book for some reason. So it's very confusing to the author, and all the author wants to do is create, and they don't want to be, they don't want to be stuck arguing with
Yeah.
whatever over these dumb things. And it's so upsetting. And
I
so
would like to tell people, don't take no as the first answer. It took me 2 weeks of no's in Amazon where they're like, no, we did the right thing. I'm like, no, you didn't.
yeah.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. And
Oh my
just like,
gosh.
it's just like an author. You get told no often, but just ignore it. Keep going. Just keep
I
swimming.
mean,
Just
it's
keep
like you have
swimming.
to think of yourself in sales, right? You have to connect with the right person at the right time who has the money and is ready to go. And it might take 100 times, it might take 150. You just don't know how many times you're going to have to hear no, but people have to get used to hearing no for sure.
Yeah, that, and the arbiters of taste, right? They might not be your people, which is what I think indie is. I don't do Substack. I was always very tempted to, but like
Mm.
there are avenues to find your readers and your
Yes.
people, and
Yes.
there's more than one way. When I start thinking of all the ways, it just overwhelms me and I just shut down. But some people really thrive in that. And you can think about even starting a newsletter. You can start building with this small thing and
For
then
sure.
begin to monetize. I think there's a bajillion ways to do that. So I want to know, so what are you personally working on right now? And when is it coming out? And how can people find you and connect
Well,
with you?
thank you. Let me see what my working title is right now. So it's called From Tortured Artist to Rapturous Writer:
Ooh.
Strategies for Surviving the Wild Emotional Ride of Writing and Publishing. And it's hopefully coming out in September. And I'm indie publishing it, and I've hired my own editor, a copy editor, book designer, and it's going to be fabulous. And like you were saying, I'm going to, potentially be doing a Substack. I've literally got my form pulled up on this Chrome right now. Like, do I
I must
even,
be psychic. I must be
yes,
psychic.
do I even have time to do a Substack? Like, there's a lot of great ones out there on the book publishing process, but I'm not sure from this particular angle. But I just feel like over my last 30 years of being in this business, and I have just seen a lot of reactions, held a lot of hands. So there are, you know, emotions like desire to start, perfectionism, joy, inadequacy, obsession, malaise, inspiration, feeling lucky, because I feel like writing is a lucky career because you're not up on stage doing it. You can't flub theoretically in front of millions of people if you're an actor or something like that. Nervous, stubborn, disappointed, shy, overconfident. I have a few good, yeah, there's
I
overconfident
can't wait to
people.
read
Oh,
those.
yeah, angry over bad reviews. So there's so many emotions that get caught up in writing and publishing, and I want to take people so that they're not stalled. They keep pressing forward with their books. They keep pressing forward with their dreams. Even if 100 people read their book and get something out of it, it's still worth it. I think it's still such a fun, creative process that's life-giving. That I have writers in their 90s who are still writing novels, and they're like, well, I can't, I'm not mobile, I can't go very far, but I can still write. And people who have had their parents or spouses who pass away, who've been ill for a long time, and they'll write me the very next day and said, thank God I've got this project to work on,
Oh,
because it's giving me life. It's giving me a reason to keep going and give me something to focus on that's not terribly sad. So I really appreciate what writers are going through, and if I can help them in some way, that's what I'm doing with this book.
I know you can. I will devour your book. I'll probably just keep it right on my desk, right next to me. So when I'm whatever manic mood that might come,
Right.
you could just like, oh,
You can
Betsy's
thumb to
talking
it.
to me.
Yeah, I'll try to talk you down, or
Yeah,
or talk you up and
well,
say,
either
come,
way, I
go
definitely go
back.
up and down. I
Yeah,
think that is
yeah.
part of it. So do you want people to find you at betsythorpe.com or Hope Carol?
BetsyThorpe.com and Hope Carol are interlinked. So Hope Carol is my pen name for the romance trilogy, and Betsy Thorpe is more of my kind of business persona. Business persona. It's me. It's not a
It is
persona.
you.
It's me.
I
And
love
yeah.
that. Little air quote.
Yeah. So Betsy Thorpe is where I do all my business, and there are links to both, and I'm on Instagram and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. My favorite moment, right? So if you came with a warning label, Miss Betsy, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, sometimes. Okay, so and you might have noticed, if people are watching on video, I will look up when I'm talking sometimes, and to grasp the right word.
Mm.
And sometimes people will follow my vision and look, see, what is she looking at? And so I'm not looking away. There's not like a plane in the sky that's falling. I am just searching for the right word. So maybe that's one. I don't know. Is that a good one?
Yeah, why not? There's no wrong answer. I like that. I'm like trying to think if I've ever really noticed about that. I always find you quite intentional in everything you do.
I
And I like that about you.
Well, thank
And
you.
that doesn't mean that you're not fun, because you're fun and you're funny, all of that, but you are intentional in choosing your words. So I can very much imagine you looking that way. When I usually look up, it's because I see something like something otherworldly. So
Right,
maybe
right.
we can get them to meet and like
Yes.
just write the words for us, and then we just have to like get them that way.
Well, the funny thing that the older you get, the more words you lose out of your brain. So it's so upsetting. And I think that I was so articulate and amazing in my 20s, and it's like on the decline. The more I want to write, the less words come to me easily. So it's upsetting, but thank God for this thesaurus
I
is
think
all
you
I can
must have
say.
heard my interview with my last person
Oh
who
my
is an
gosh.
actress and author. And I told her my vocabulary is 100 words. I'm really good with those 100 words. Because sometimes when I read a draft, I was like, could I use the same word more? Like, oh my God,
Oh,
circle, circle,
yes.
circle,
Oh,
circle.
yes. And that's a common, people have their ticks and their favorite, and it's partly my job to tell them what they are so that they see when they do that.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
looking away, embarrassed. I was like,
I don't do that. Yeah.
actually, I owe you a book really soon. We'll have to talk about
Yes,
that when
I'm
we stop. Yeah,
excited. I'm
I'm
excited.
not. I can't wait for you to be like, yes, no, 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 yes, no, 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 yes. So,
It'll have a
anyway,
path, it'll have a direction, and then
it
it'll be
will.
released to the readers and they will be very happy.
Huh. Anyway, our time is up. I just want to
Yeah.
say thank you again so much.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
I feel lucky because you're my friend, but now I've gotten to
Same.
share you with everybody.
Oh,
And
thank you.
again, if you want to work with Betsy, please look her up. She is everything that you heard here and more. She really does have a way and a gift of finding the story that you mean to have down, fiction or nonfiction. It doesn't matter the genre, which is partly magical in and of itself, and bringing out your voice and your story.
Yes, very
And she
important.
does that for you, and she does it for herself. So everyone read her books,
Thank you.
obviously. So
Thank you. Thank you, Holly. I
thanks.
loved it.
Uh-huh.